What's going on YouTube? Earth Power here with CBH.
How's it going, everybody?
We are back in the booth for the second top four match today between Phantomach and ManaBurn, using the
Yep.
finished meta to find the best deck season one bracket tournament.
We're
That whole
so
Jimmy Jazz.
close. So close to the grand
Yeah,
finals. Y'all just saw Foul Control beat Hydras 2-1.
yeah, and in a stunning display of both of the decks just kind of doing their thing, and Foul just happened to edge it out. So. Um, Mana Burn today is the topic of conversation of both of these decks, really. Relatively unknown on the channel up until this tournament. Phantomac was your baby CVH. I'll let you talk to that here in a moment. But Mana Burn being just kind of
My
what is
goodness.
considered, yeah, shout outs to a lot of shaking I get in the beginnings of a lot of these matches as we get into it. We tried a new tripod for this and the future season two stuff. So be on the
It's
lookout for a
looking
little bit.
good.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But yeah, what I was saying is Mana Burn is widely considered just one of the top tier, if not one of the best decks in the overseas metas right now. Very strong, plays like a control deck would, but just really demoralizes opponents by taking away its most valuable asset, mana. So um, we came into it. It was a last minute addition for us, which is why it came in at rank 14. That's definitely not where I think if we had actually truly voted it in, it probably would have landed uh, a lot higher. Don't know what to say about it because again, none of us had any idea of how it would play coming into it. But
Yeah, we don't have
yeah,
to
it's
apologize for that
proving it.
every match. They forgive us. They
Yeah,
understand.
absolutely. Yeah, but no, it's absolutely proving why it's so widely regarded in these overseas metas as just a very good deck, and yeah, excited to see how it does against your mid range baby that's being piloted by Swan.
Yeah, and it's funny. Foul and Hydra is the other side of the top four. I think you discussed that these are two decks that we've appreciated for a long time and we're comfortable with. And this is sort of the other side of that coin, where these are two decks that we had like a cumulatively small level of experience and knowledge about. We hadn't really played them too much before the bracket, and I think we were surprised that Phantomach made it this far. And while we weren't surprised at ManaBurn because, like you said, it's very known overseas and in different metas, it's still something that we had played shockingly few games with. So it was cool to see these two relative unknown decks to us at least do well on the other side of the bracket as two decks that we had already played a bunch. But yeah, this is a matchup where, like previously, Phantomach has been allowed to prey on other aggressive decks with its shield triggers and its ability to get to a massive board state without worrying about wide removal. And Mana Burn could throw some wrenches into that plan because Mana Burn's not really breaking shields early at all. And by the time it does, hopefully it'll be removing a lot of Phantomach's options. Um, but
Yeah,
that being said, cards like Mistrios can still be a pretty huge problem for control decks.
yeah, and Phantomach's just general way. I mean, with unencumbered, like if this deck, if Mana Burn doesn't really start affecting
Hmm.
the mana or challenging the creatures that Spencer plays. In this case, Gagapi Ponto, a very powerful turn three creature. Mana Burn doesn't have an answer for that card until turns, 5 or 6, where it can play foul to just simply contest it. And you don't really want to play foul on a blank board. That's not how you want to do that.
That's interesting.
Um,
So I mean, last turn, I literally right after I said Mistrios is a problem for control decks, I saw the Mistrios get put into mana. And it looks like Spencer drew call on that turn, so he was keeping Phantomach, Clamp, and a blank card. He winds up clamping me, which as Mana Burn, I don't love, but I have to say, as Mana Burn, like one of the cards I really don't want to see is Mistrios, because I don't have Crimson Hammer, Blizzard of Spears, Apocalypse Vice. I don't really have removal for it except for Spiral Gate or Terror Pit, until like Plague comes down. But that's just me. I mean, I value Clamp highly too, I guess, but I'll tell you this. It's gonna take a lot for me to mana Mistrios.
yeah, and I think the only reason it got managed is because he had the second.
Does he have a
Um,
second?
I
I
I
can't see
believe
it.
he does. I think that's what the second card in this hand is. Because I can't quite remember how this match goes, and we'll find out all together here in a moment. Um, but yeah, what Phantomac wants to do is go wide on Mana Burn. Um,
There's the
so
Phantomach.
if it can, then it doesn't
It
really matter if
does. Okay.
Mana Burn is dealing with destroying mana at that point, Phantomach's just going to answer back by just having the bigger creatures on board and having the pressure on board. And that's where Mana Burn doesn't want to be. Mana Burn's one of those decks that does not play well from behind. So if it can deal with things early, then, so be it.
Yep. Oh, that's an answer
You
from
had the
Mystrios.
perfect answer for Mystrios, yeah.
Yeah.
Clean swap there to give him Kalan.
Yeah. Swap's a
Uh,
card that I like to hold in Mana Burn for the obvious Fortress Shell reason, but using it to get rid of Mystrios when Spencer doesn't have a hand is also quite good.
there's there's some conversation there to be had that maybe bouncing with the Kalan isn't what Phantomach wants to do, but Kalan might as well just be a removal card on a stick. It's not really doing too much for him. So, um, and there's some conversation here about potentially going for shields now, because Spencer's out of a hand. Everything was based on
Wait, could he
getting
have
that.
bounced with Ponto at that? Or could he have used Ponto at that time? Did he just sacrifice Kalan?
What?
Did he have a Ponto when he bounced with Kalan? Could he have just used Ponto? Is that
He
why you were
didn't
saying?
bounce. Oh, no, no, no. He killed both. You had
Okay,
Bronze
okay,
Archive
okay.
and Look Overtapped. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he
All right,
bounced
yeah,
with
yeah.
a. No,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought you were talking about the Rothus play there. Yeah,
No, yeah,
Rothus
yeah,
was a.
yeah, yeah.
So, all the 4,000 guys.
Yeah, look at that.
Unfortunately, Spencer's still not on a a 2-turn kill plan, which is not great.
Yeah, it's really hard to
There
get
is,
on that kind of plan without a hand.
yeah, yeah. There's the conversation here is, he's just banking on whatever he tops. And, yeah, there's the potential that he rolls high and tops Phantomach next turn, which presents lethal if he breaks 2 shields here unencumbered. But I think waiting here is correct. Because if he can't deal with the board, he breaks 3. Depending on what you play, uh, Val can only bounce with 1 creature. So letting you kind of decide your own fate here. If you can't deal with a creature, which is unlikely, but if you can't, that's Phantomach's in.
Yep. I don't even really know how many cards are in my hand because I'm shuffling them just out of the frame.
Quite a bit. Quite a bit. And that's the thing is Spencer Crimson or Spencer clamped on a turn where you had like 4 or 5 cards in your hand. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he just did it
that's
on turn 4, but that's kind of when you got to do it in a deck that's trying to
right.
curve out. He needed to wait until turn 5 to actually play like Mystrios or whatever he was going to play then. He didn't want to weave it in
Yeah.
later.
It's just unfortunate that Phantomach, that he had I think he wouldn't have played Mist in mana. Um, if Phantomach hadn't been the other card in his hand. I think holding on to Double Mist would have been correct there, but unfortunately the deck just kind of mana locked itself with Phantomach early on. Um, As you can tell, when you locoed it out of his hand, and he was
Yep.
fortunate enough to top the card to go to 5 and play the second Mist, which you didn't loco out of his hand.
What am
But
I
yeah,
thinking about right now?
right break for Phantomach. Yeah, you are deep in the tank on this one, and this one is even sped up. So
Sorry about that,
uh,
everybody. Usually with
yeah,
turns like these, I find that a lot of the problem is like doing the play that I really want to do while not manning things that I also really want to do. I feel like sometimes I had hands that are just, for lack of a better word, they're just like so good. They're just full of like this turn's best play and next turn's best play. I don't want to put Fortress Shell down to play Plague, stuff like that. Um, but I'm also kind of feeling the pressure here because that's a lot of dudes, and I only have one thing to contest right now.
yeah,
And I think actually the way my hands are moving, I'm pretty sure you're trying to tell me to do something or telling me what not to do. We'll see. I wind up
yeah.
not playing mana.
I think at some point when you get too deep in the tank here, I come over to add some insight. But yeah, no, it's I think at some point, and I don't know if it's this match or if it's later in the night as we continue on and playing games. I start to give you a lot of flack for waiting, but
Oh yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
neither here nor there. Bronze Arm was your best. Well, I say best play was your only play there. Interesting.
I dig it.
Yeah, and this is the turn now where if Spencer can break shields, not hit a trigger, that word, and
That's so loud. Yeah, he's got to go for
and
it.
yeah, and that's just unfortunate.
That is very unfortunate. You might as well break the other one now,
Yeah,
probably.
no, at this point, yeah, I think you just continue to do it.
I can already trade
Uh,
with what I can trade with. Attacking with Rothus doesn't make it any better for him.
think Spencer's just a little sad. The deck's not feeling the way I think he
Yeah.
wanted it to feel.
I
After us,
mean,
I think, hyping it up.
it's situationally, it's matchup dependent, but also like the best card in his deck is Mysterious, and it was answered immediately.
Yeah.
And like I discarded the Phantomach, so we didn't even have the go aggro with Phantomach line. Sometimes things just don't shake out the way you want them to. I would really love to know what's in my hand right now. After last
Yeah.
turn's deep in the tank, play Bronze Arm turn.
And play Bronze Pass
Yeah.
with 6 mana.
There was a foul, and it's a swap into the Fortress Shell, which we like to see. Yeah, Bronze Arm last turn makes sense. I got to keep the swap, and then I got to go up to 9 this turn with the swap. Um, I just do mana correctly. Yeah, okay, so
Oh,
this is
yeah.
gonna look weird. This was a turn that I definitely almost cheated. So there we go. Gonna gonna
Yes, it's
play my mana
important, guys. It's
correctly.
important. Kinda
Yeah,
reading and color comprehension is an important aspect in the game of Duel
yeah.
Masters.
Keeping the water untapped
So,
so I can energy stream and spiral gate a thing.
yeah, and shout outs to Spiral Gate being a good answer to the old Armaloid that says when they're destroyed, they kill the mana before anybody speaks up. It's not a whole targeted thing.
They know that. I hope. Maybe. Maybe not. But there's Grash
No,
again.
absolutely. Yeah, Grash is only when an Armaloid is destroyed, so Spiral
Yeah.
Gate is a good answer to that card.
Yeah.
And yeah, now these fortress shells are just keeping, they're bigger than I say Miss Ponto. I don't know how Gigapi Ponto identifies, but yeah, it's not a good situation for Spencer, and my fingies at the bottom there. I don't know what I'm on about.
Those fingies.
Yeah. Yeah, Spencer's starting to feel what it feels like to play against ManaBurn that is now ahead on board. Not a
Yep.
great feeling.
Just sucks to have 1/3 of the amount of mana as your opponent, right?
Oh yeah, it's just yeah. Here we go. Yeah, just break them. Yeah, use the Saw as an out. So you play to win, right? So
Yeah.
um, use the Saw as an out. If you don't touch his mana this turn, he can come into a use a Saw. I don't think he has it in hand at this moment, but he sees it. That's just the game. So
Unless he doesn't have the
unfortunately,
mana to play it anymore.
yeah, now it's going to take a lot of turns. That's just 3 fortress shells.
Yeah.
About as good as that gets.
However, I mean, against a lot of decks, pretty quickly, Fortress Shells could just start breaking shields with the opponent on like literally 1 mana. But against Phantomach with 18 shield triggers, I guess I kind of have to wait because any shield trigger, kamikaze, or anything is just the game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little tough here. You gotta find a good opening,
Gotta
and
find that one.
that's the one. Yeah. So that's the card that gets you there. So I think there was a conversation to be had there, waiting and passing the turn
Oh,
and
I
going
like
to the next.
waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Because
brick
Spencer
spear.
has, with 2 mana, well, he had to brick, right? Like he had 2 mana, none of it was fire. He literally had no playable draws. So it was,
Right.
like he still has like the only card he could draw and play next turn is Pela. He doesn't even have the right mana for Ponto. So I could wait again.
Yeah.
Like he literally just doesn't have playable cards.
Well, now the conversation is if you hit one blast, you stop.
I could
So
hit 2 and be fine.
right.
Well, no, I could, depending on the amount of cards he has
No,
in his hand if I hit 2.
right. Right, because he can't come in to use us all. But,
Yeah.
yes, as long as you don't see more than one, good.
Yep.
Now we can just set up lethal.
Yeah, this turn will just be lethal because this version of Phantomach doesn't have Olia. It has Colon. And it would take um more than 3 colons to stop this assault. That said, I am just gonna do the soul swap out Fortress Shell just to get him down to 1 mana, just for fun, really. You know?
Yeah, just because we can.
Yeah.
Um, Spencer sees a trigger that isn't the best one, but now we're just
Yeah.
wasting time, which is
The
cool.
thing the thing I
So,
say with my hands there, I remember saying that play was strictly wrong because now if he had like 3 colons, I wouldn't be able to win.
yeah.
Oh, that's very funny.
Demoralizing my opponent is hilarious.
Yeah. Making the bad play. But yeah, that's a lot of Fortress Shells in one game. Wow.
Yeah, sure was. Sure was. That's just all the ones the deck plays. This version plays 3 of them to get it down to 40, and You saw them all and you hard cast them all, and that's well, I say you hard cast them all. You swap one of them and start the whole train going, and then just
Yep.
didn't get any better.
Hey, season 4, ManaBurn's playing 4 Fortress shells because I felt like it. So
Yeah,
who's excited for more Fortress shells?
uh, Phantomach saw a uh, a single blast there, or no, single two triggers. Gigaballs was the last one, but didn't matter. So no true defensive triggers in that game, which is fortunate.
Yeah, against these slower decks, right? Like even if Phantomach had played against Foul, it's got the Cryptic Totems. A lot of these slower decks just mitigate shield triggers so well that they really show off their strengths against other decks.
Right, and Phantomach, Phantomach leans into playing from ahead. That's the whole point. Gagapi Ponto, Palo Elisis, and Mistrios. Get those cards out as fast as possible. Hopefully in that turn order, and then just ride that little threesome to victory because they're going to net you hopefully enough advantage to drop a Phantomach in the following turns and alpha strike the opponent. It plays about as true a mid range as it can. Make your opponent unable to interact because your cards are hard to interact with.
Yep, seems like a good strat. Spencer does get to be on the play. I can't remember if he was last time, but he definitely is now.
Yeah, Terra Pit down. Card's going to be hard to play, especially if you start messing with his mana. So I agree. Terra Pit's probably correct there. Rothus, yeah. So he has the 2-drop here, and I think one of the conversations was why play the 2-drop? Maybe try to bank on having Rothus for like a favorable uh, a favorable kill here in the coming turns. And I think Spencer's game plan now is just to aggro if at all possible.
Well, I mean,
Um,
Rothus doesn't really favorably kill a whole lot against Mana Burn early.
yeah,
Especially if you
but
don't have
if
the 2-drop, then it's killing itself, which sucks.
right,
This is interesting. He
uh,
has the Pela in hand, and he also has Mysterios in hand. So will he forego the Mysterios this turn to keep, or will he forego the mana this turn and just, yeah, he replays the
yeah,
Kamikaze? Because Pela
yeah.
isn't even very good on this, but it doesn't really do anything. There's no power-based removal in Mana Burn, and I don't have a lot
If
of
I'm
things to trade.
standing behind him, I think without trying to reveal it to you, I think there is a conversation there being that is the most valuable card, and do not mana it under any circumstance.
What, Mysterios?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's to the point where, like, I think there's a solid argument for the deck playing 4 of them.
Yeah. The future. Well, I think this version does play 4, correct?
Nah, this is 3,
Yeah.
and the next one is also 3, actually.
Check
The
out the
next,
profile down below. I'll to be doing that.
yeah, they're both 3.
Numbers are hard, and there's a lot of decks. Here we are again in the same situation
Oh, geez.
we were except this time Locomotive hits it. So
Yeah, I guess that would be an argument to keep Kamikaze in hand just to have more things that Locomotiver could hit.
yep. So now we're on
In
the Phantomac.
fact,
I'll try to just 2-turn him plan.
that's actually like looking back a few turns, I think playing Kamikaze was a mistake for a different reason, right? Like not only does it help Locomotiver whiff more often, but like if your whole plan is like holding miss to the point where you're not playing Pela, you'd kind of want Kamikaze in your hand because it turns into a 2-cost floater. It's like the best card to have when you have Mysterios on board, right? So if his plan was to hold Mist, I think you save the Kamikaze and just wait. And then after you play
Oh yeah,
Mist, you
we have
have
a conversation on shield rules with double breaking here. True duel masters in a double break, you have to reveal your shields one at a time and choose to play them in the order that they're broken.
yeah. And
So
first
in
shield
this
soul
case,
swap against Phantomach is brutal.
yep. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately for you, it's not really that unfortunate. That's a good card to have in this situation. Um, Looks like the worst card would be either Gigabalza or in this case, taking him off of light and playing Pala. So
Yeah, I think whatever I have in my hand, I don't want to be Gigabalzed.
yeah, for sure. Kamikaze just kind of gets in there on a shield and deal with the Pala this turn. Kamikaze should hopefully be able to pick off another one.
Yeah. But again, after you play the Mysterios, this kind of deck definitely would love to string together a couple creatures per turn to get the most out of the draws. Can't kill the Kamikaze because it's 3,000. Shame.
once again, because you were able to get rid of the mist or deal with the mist in a roundabout way, Spencer is just out of gas. Unfortunately, that's where mana burn starts to take advantage. You're getting into those critical mana numbers here, and Spencer being off of light can't play Kalan, so that's essentially a brick if there ever was one. And yeah, Kamikaze continues to just be the little engine that could,
Yeah,
trying
there
to
it
get him there.
goes. Oops, there it
So,
went. We have Miraculous Plague. First
yeah.
one of the match.
Spencer, I think, is like, which ones? And they were like, no, it's both.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least he gets to choose which one goes where. That's kind of
Yep,
nice.
yep.
Yeah, I think we're having the
Yeah,
conversation of keeping Pela because I'm going to take him off of light mana otherwise, and if he draws Mist, he wants to be able to play it.
right. I think that's the conversation here.
Because I'm
Yeah,
definitely looking at that Colon as a prime suspect for this plague.
right, right. Kalan, probably a Terror Pit in the situation. Probably the two correct mana choices. Unless you're just gonna, again, hitting both fire doesn't matter because he's still gonna be on fire the following turn, and you don't want to give him, I think, Phantomach and Rothus.
Yeah, but I could,
But you actually go for
I
both.
mean, Terra
You
Pit,
actually
like,
go for both too.
yeah, I don't know, I could have given him, Rothus is probably fine, because Rothus does nothing for him here against this board.
Right. And even if you pick Kalan, he could just put the Kalan in his hand too. So that's probably the
Yeah.
same conversation. So yeah, that's fair. Still a good card. Fortunately, he's able to play both cards he draws. Comes into Gigabalza and has the Kamikaze, which you gave him. But Yuliana's annoying, right? The card that this can't deal with.
Yeah,
Carnival's a good draw. Them missed back. Do you have the Lost Soul? You sure do.
I sure do.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Phantomach is just not. That's this is my new phrase, man. Stay
Tough,
tuned.
man.
Every time someone's in a bad spot.
It's
That's
Tough
that's
Man
gonna
and
be what
Stay Tuned. Those are the two.
you love it. Yeah, yeah. I'm a fan of the classics, if you will. But yeah, no, it's Spencer is not in a good way. Continues to top deck. Not finding mist over the course of these has been not great, and double Kalans back to back on this board with a bunch of 1,000 power creatures against a Juliana. Also not where you want to be. There's probably some justification there to maybe breaking you down to zero shields. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know that we necessarily explored that, and we might be talking about that now.
Well, if he did that, I definitely kill everything. I don't even have to use. I don't have to have Yuliana tapped on his next turn. And that
No,
means there's no top deck out for him because it doesn't play Holy Awe, and another Colon
right?
wouldn't hit Yuliana. So I kind of like just hoping I don't have removal this turn and trying to break me to zero and also win. But again, I have like at least looks like 3 cards in my hand, so the odds of
Yeah.
that are
And
pretty low.
the other conversation piece too is that you have to trade at least two of your creatures to deal with his board, which taking you off of creatures with mana burn isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, your deck doesn't have quote unquote finishers. I say your deck, mana burn, just in general, doesn't have quote unquote finishers. So, um, the more bodies you have on board, the better in that sense. So, if he can take you off of a few, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep. So I'm
But
swapping in
yeah,
the Belix so I can get Plague back. Could have gone for Fortress Shell there, but getting the blocker on board seems pretty important because otherwise I'm dead that turn,
yeah,
potentially.
no, with no direct outs. I mean, Spiral Gate, Swap, and Miraculous Snare, Terror Pit. You have a few, but they're not really efficient ways to deal with tiny creatures. So, um, blockers definitely the more efficient way to do that. Fortunately, if he saw any sort of tap or removal, that would have been the game. But fortunately, Spencer saw a Pela, and now we continue to see if we can get there.
Yep.
Again, there's conversation to be had here to where he may lose two creatures, but he can break you down to two shields. And no, no, never mind. I'm lying. Because he gets to Pala doesn't give you the power on your turn. Yep. Too
Yeah,
deep
the
in the
trades
text.
would be very, very bad.
Yeah, awful. Might say.
But I mean, I
But it
could
looks
also
like
just
you
like,
don't have an efficient way to deal with creatures.
do I not have the plague?
Well, yeah, never mind. You got the plague back. Hey,
Yeah.
so I guess we're just hanging out at this point, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
kick back,
guess. Kick
put your
back,
feet up.
relax, and watch
Let's
some
watch the
burn.
match. Yeah, let's just enjoy the show.
Yeah, there's the
There it is.
plague. I guess I was just thinking about what to hit because, like, well, I mean, not even really because, like, Ponto Kamikaze kind of seem. I
Yeah,
guess I could bounce Kalan, but, like, I don't know. If he draws another light, Kalan's not really a card I want being replayed. I'm fine with him replaying one of the weaker
yeah.
creatures that don't really do anything on summon. And I can take him off of fire, theoretically. Not
Well, not
really, he
really.
just replays it, but yeah, I can try.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can make it to where Gagapi Ponto is his best play, and that's it's
Yeah. Not a
not a
great
bad
play
thing.
on turn 1000 here.
Yeah,
Deep in
and
the
I
late
think the
game.
conversation here is like you could start swinging, but you don't necessarily have to yet. Here in the next like 2 turns is probably when you're gonna want to start going in. But
Yeah, if I hit,
um,
I mean, if I hit one trigger here, I would still be fine. So I could
and no,
see swinging.
if you hit the last colon, you would not be.
Yeah, true. That's I think what I eventually discover, and then I'm like, yeah, it's not worth the risk. I can just wait.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
We're
gonna take
getting
us a long time to come to that conclusion.
yeah, yeah.
We came to it pretty quick tonight. We must be getting better.
We're just remembering the matches.
Just kidding. I
Oh
attack
goodness,
anyway.
here we go. Oh, we're gonna take a few while we're at it. All right.
Maybe we were talking about.
Okay,
I was like, I'll just hit with the ones that don't die to payload. Makes perfect sense. Whatever.
give it a. I hope he has a colon down on those last 3 shields.
Well, now it won't matter. Now I have enough attackers. Well, no, because I need to get rid of Payla still, but I'm sure I probably can. But yeah, that's pretty funny.
Oh,
maybe
colon's in
maybe
his
not
hand. Look at
attacking
that.
there.
Look at that. There it is. We
What?
found it.
What? Oh, it's in his hand.
It's
Okay.
in his hand.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Got it.
I mean, if Sensor has the rest of his pits, and I mean, even if he has 2 pits down, deal with Pala, I think that's still the game, right? No, no. If he has
No.
both pits down and he breaks them first, I think you're all right.
Foul Iga getting back gate.
Getting less all
Yeah.
right.
It's a little risky though. Like if he did have two
There's
pits.
one. Heyo. Heyo. We might get there. Hold on.
Yeah, again, I could wait here because he doesn't have enough to kill me. And I just
But he
played a
does
foul, which
have
is
the colon
another.
in his hand.
Okay, so if he had another pit, that would be me losing.
Yep. And
Um,
that's unfortunately just not how it breaks.
wow, okay,
Oh my
maybe
god.
not. Yeah,
Wrong
okay.
with that. Yeah.
Huh.
Good
I
lord.
wonder maybe this was about the time of the day when you were giving me some crap for taking too long playing and I was like, I gotta kill him. I gotta go for it. Cause like
Finally goaded you into doing it. Yeah.
I mean he's at
And
3 mana and I could have waited one more turn to make it like
I mean,
again, it's one of
so the
those
thing
things where
is,
it's like
the
100% safe.
thing is the odds were low. Him to have the 1 pit was already high, but him to have both down when he already had played 2 in mana over the course of the game, like the other 2 needed to be there, and it needed to be the other 2 or the cologne or the cologne. I don't even know what the name of the card is. Alon the Oracle. If he had it in hand, so you didn't know that, but to that point, there he needed 2 out of 3 cards there to be in shields, and the odds were very low, seeing as how much you'd seen of them already. So
Yeah.
there's some justification there, but at the end of the day, it ended up again. Yeah, I say again, it just ended up breaking your way, and having the 2 pits down was definitely a little bit of insurance that
Yeah, the
nobody
icing on the
knew about.
cake there. Yeah, I
Yeah,
those reckless attacks made a lot of sense. If I, it's almost like I knew what my shields were. No, I had no idea. That's just dumb luck. They were probably a little bit of too reckless of attacks, but ManaBurn got there in the end with that aggro strat,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, we never really saw Mystery Oz survive for more than a split second, and I think
Yeah,
that
and I
was
think
one of the undoings of the match.
Absolutely. That's definitely why Phantomach just couldn't quite make it. For Loco to snipe it out of the hand was super unlucky for Spencer, and then for you to have, I mean, holding the soul swap again. You know, you talk about mana decisions early. Um, this is one where in this matchup that could just be your nature mana early for the Bronze Arm Tribe, but instead holding on to it for later in the game, seeing Fortress Shell come down when it comes down, and just trying to hold on to that swap, knowing that that's your out to Mistrios because that card can potentially blow you out, is just a smart decision. While Soul Swap and mana,
Oh,
uh,
that's not why I held it at all. It's like, I mean, it's
no,
just Soul Swap is so flexible, right? It's like a 3 cost answer to Phantomach. It's a answer to Mist. It's the way you get Fortress Shells online. It's the way you
right,
can play Sky Swords again. It's sick. I don't think it's usually right to put that in mana as mana burn. You just really want that card so often. Oh
absolutely.
man, just I love
But
Soul
yeah,
Swap so
shout outs to
much.
ManaBurn, man. It is tore its way through, seeing a variety of decks now. Early versus Marino, handling an old control staple on the channel, dealing with Fire Nature Rush, very blocker heavy Fire Nature Rush, and now giving it to Phantomach. What some might consider a fan favorite coming into this. Just a wholly new deck for us here on the channel, and one of your babies coming in here and making it all the way to top four and finally meeting its end to Mana Burn.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if you
it's
like
been a lot of fun.
Phantomach, don't be sad because all 4 of the top 4 decks are also in Season Two's bracket. If you haven't watched that video yet, to spoil a little bit, so you'll see all these again in updated versions, and you'll also see
Absolutely.
Phantomach again in the next video because it's going to be up against Hydrus in the match for 3rd place.
Yeah, and that's coming up next. So stay tuned for that again. Keep an eye on the community board. Posts are going to be a little out of whack as we gear up for season two, but continue to post the ending for season one. Don't want to underhype that at all. Finals will be up after that, featuring ManaBurn and Foul. Uh, ManaBurn's maybe hardest test yet in a control deck that can hopefully give it a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, how about
And
that? The two 4 color control decks, the only 2 4 color decks in the 16 deck bracket. That's the
yeah,
finals.
yeah. Yeah, love to see it. Love to see it. When you give them options, turns out using those options to get all the way to the end is maybe what they needed. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the deck profiles below. Stay tuned for the bronze match and finals coming up. And hopefully, guys, see you next time.
Each